Hey guys, this is Red and Blue, and today, in honor of the Classico, our next game this Sunday in Paris, it is time to talk about Marseille. Let's do a little bit of a Marseille chat, actually, in all seriousness, because not only are they our next opponent, but also a lot of nonsense has been happening in Marseille. And so I think it's a good time to, take stock of what's happening. I can share a bit more with you guys. Just so everyone knows, you know, what kind of unexpected things we can expect from Marseille this Sunday. So Marseille, this season has been, I think, a bit of a mixed bag for them, if I'm honest. On one hand, they've had their moments. They managed to beat us in the Velodrome. They managed to almost beat us in Kuwait. They were hanging on to Lens and us in Ligue 1 for the longest time. They had a couple of wins in the Champions League. And then recently, it feels like the wheels are coming off the wagon a lot, with a couple of really memorable moments. The first one being that they got eliminated from the Champions League by virtue of Benfica scoring a last-second goal at the 97th minute of their game against Real Madrid by their keeper, who scores a header. And just that one goal of goal difference means that Benfica moves up in the table and Marseille goes from being 24th to being 25th. And so drops below the line of being able to take part in the playoffs. And so Marseille got eliminated from the Champions League by virtue of the Benfica goalkeeper scoring a last-minute goal against Real Madrid. And that was like the funny like ridiculousness of the moment. But more seriously, like Marseille mostly dropped off of the Champions League because their last two games, they lost to Liverpool in Marseille 3-0, and then they went on the road to Bruges on the last day in a game that, I mean, it's not that easy to go into Bruges, but still, and they managed to lose 3-0 in Bruges. And just, the last two games, 0 points scored, 6 goals scored on them when they couldn't even get one. It's the Champions League, baby. You cannot rest on your laurels. You've got to take games seriously, and you've got to just show up for them. And I think Liverpool beating Marseille, that's to be expected. But Marseille going to Bruges and turning in the non-games that they turn up, that's that's your own damn fault, and that's the way it goes. And so, what's making it even funnier as well is that going into this last game in Bruges, Marseille statistically had 95+% chances of qualifying. So before the game, all of the Marseille fans were already talking away and we're going to qualify and what's going to happen next, and we're a great team and blah, blah, and so on and so forth. And as always, Marseille fans talk way too much. So that was the Champions League. That was really good fun from a PSG standpoint. Not gonna lie. We drew against Newcastle, and that was kind of annoying, and we dropped below the top 8. That's really annoying. But Marseille getting eliminated this way was just that little gift for PSG fans to get us through that. And then after this, the fun keeps on going. The Marseille Comedy Club is in town. Marseille went to Paris to play not against us, but to play against Paris FC, who right now sits 15th in Ligue 1. So just above the relegation spots. And after this ridiculous performance in the Champions League, they went there thinking we're gonna set the record straight. Look at us. We're still a good team. We're still competitive in Ligue 1. So let us set the record straight. And true to form, for 80 minutes, they kind of dominate. They score 2 goals. They lead 2-0. At the 82nd minute, they were leading 2-0. and they still got held to a draw against Paris FC, who managed to get 2 goals back in those last 8-10 minutes, including a last-second penalty in extra time by Kerbal. And so once again, like Marseille just disappearing in plain sight when the time gets tough and it's money time, they just disappear. And so following this, the temperature in Marseille was, starting to gradually increase, and they got to a point of conversation about their coach Roberto De Zerbi saying he wants to leave the club. We have like transfer window at the same time, so players getting pushed out. Matt O'Reilly, who was supposed to be their big midfield signing last summer, and who was supposed to be the guy who was going to take them to the next level, getting pushed out and going away. Murillo, their player, getting blamed publicly by De Zerbi for some of the mistakes. Fans starting to scream and shout that they're not happy with the whole thing. And so, true to form, in typical fashion, this is Marseille. And so, like, yeah, as soon as things get bad, the whole thing explodes. And it's kind of funny to watch, but yeah, like, ultimately, like, just silly, like, really silly. Yesterday, last game, Marseille was playing in the Coupe de France because, contrary to us, they actually did manage to qualify in the last round. So, I'm shutting up. They were playing against Rennes in Marseille. They did manage to get a 3-0 win against a Rennes team who's right now being atrocious. So last weekend in Ligue 1, they were playing against Monaco, who hadn't won a game in, I think, 8 games, who managed to beat Rennes, and not only beat Rennes, but beat them 4-0. So this time, Rennes went on to Marseille and managed to lose 3-0 in Marseille. Marseille scored 1 goal at the very beginning of the game, at the 2nd minute, another goal at the very beginning of the second half, and then a 3rd goal later on by Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And ultimately, Marseille did apply a lot of pressure early on in that game, and true to form, try to really like be aggressive and offensive, and end up scoring early, so made that game easy for themselves. There's a big referee controversy on the 25th minute or so, where new players that they just got on loan from Arsenal, Nwaneri, did a huge foul, and essentially like just stepped on the ankle of one of the Rennes player, only got a yellow card, and apparently there's no VAR in the French Cup at this level of the competition, so there was no VAR to correct the mistake. Should have been a very clear red card, if you ask me. Not going to get into that because referees are going to make mistakes, and that's just the way it goes. In this case, they got through. Kind of annoying for us because Hakimi got a red card in our last game against Strasbourg for honestly like a foul which I think deserved a red card, but was honestly not as bad as what Nwaneri was doing. So if Hakimi got a red card, it's like the equity of it all is just a bit frustrating. But anyway, so like Marseille had that, and then like, as like they turn an okay performance, but it's really helped by Rennes turning in like really an abysmal performance. Rennes didn't even get a shot on goal, so like that kind of gives you a sense of what they had. They had Esteban Lepore playing up front, who's he's a decent striker, he's a good striker by Ligue standard, and like literally he was completely cut off from the rest of the team. Rennes tried to play a 3 at the back kind of defense to try to not really park the bus, but really play defensively, and just didn't work for them because they made 2 mistakes, which led to the first 2 goals of Marseille. So ultimately, Marseille got the win. It makes things a little bit better for them. It kind of calms people down a little bit. There were already banners in the stadium from the fans criticizing the team, criticizing the coach, criticizing the whole things. So it kind of brings it down a notch. And true to form, humble as Marseille people are, They come out of a 3-0 win after being like ridiculous 2 games before, and they come out saying like, oh yeah, like we're going to Paris next, and we're going to Paris to play the best game in Europe, and we want to try to do something and get the win, and like we need to play well, but we can absolutely do it, and like guys, like yes, like Marseille won against us in Ligue 1 in Marseille. I'm not going to go back to that game. I think there were circumstances to it, and honestly, like, yeah, I don't care. They got the win, fair and square. Kuwait, they thought they were going to get the win, and then it got like snatched from right under their nose at the last second, which was glorious to see. So yeah, and then like you guys were like looked ridiculous in front of the whole of Europe and then the whole of France. Maybe it's time for a low profile. Maybe it's time to just like sit down and shut up for a second. I know it's not in the Marseille DNA, but oh my God. And ultimately, like the mistakes and the weaknesses that this Marseille team are facing, they're not going away. They still have a coach who's changing his tactical setup every game. So typically he plays a 3-4-3, and against Rennes he went to a 4-2-3-1. No one really knows why. Even him after the game against Rennes is like he's essentially saying it's strange because we played 4 at the back and did really well offensively, and didn't really like concede any opportunities from Rennes. When we play 3 at the back and we're meant to be more solid, we concede a lot. So literally, like the goal is playing tactics, and he doesn't have an explanation for why they work or don't work. Okay, no problem there. Then, like the big question mark around Marseille is that every mercato window, there's 6 players coming in and 6 players getting out. And true to form, even this mercato window, like I said, Matt O'Reilly dropped off. They were trying to push Murillo out. They had a couple of players. Neil Mopé went out. Couple of players got pushed out. They brought in like Nwaneri. They brought in like a new guy that no one's ever heard of from Zulte Waregem in Belgium. So, like it just like it's impossible to understand. And honestly, like at the end of days, as a result, they never play the same starting 11. And so there's no connection between the players. The players don't know how to play together because at every game it's a different team on the pitch. And so, the players who are assured for their spot in the top team, in the starting 11, like literally there's very few of them. There's very few of them. And so like even their usual like starters and top players, as a result, they don't connect with other players, but also like they don't necessarily always have the confidence to play well. And right now it's their goalkeeper, Geronimo Rulli, who did amazing last season, helped them qualify for the Champions League, and he's, it pains me to admit, given where we are with goalkeepers in PSG, but like Rulli is a good goalkeeper. He's solid. I'm not saying he's like, Donnarumma level, but he's definitely not this season Chevalier either. So he's good enough, and yet like even him right now is like making mistakes and turning in bad performances and doesn't have the confidence, and already like they're talking about like his substitute playing in Paris. It's insane. I mean, like really it's insane. And so that's not getting any better. In this transfer window, like I said, they still brought in new players. They still push some player out, and we still don't understand why. So it's still like very weird in terms of management of the team and how the squad is assembled. And then like the last one, which for me is the most important one, is that honestly, mentally, it's a team and a squad and a club that is all over the map. Like literally like all over the map. They go from like not turning up for a last game in the Champions League against Bruges and getting kicked 3-0 and getting taken out. They get scored on like so many times at the last minutes of games, conceding points and conceding trophies and so on. They've got a coach who's completely erratic in his communication, screaming and fighting one day, no solution the next, changing his things around every day. They've got fans who are going from, early on this season, be careful, Marseille is back, we're going to dominate Europe, we're going to dominate France, this is our year, and so on, to now, literally screaming and shouting at their players, and not supporting their team and not supporting their staff. You've got players who are fighting in the locker room. We know the Rabiot case early on in the season. I remember talking about this, but it's still there's still noise of players infighting in the locker room, and players reproaching to each other the bad results. Literally, this team is just I don't even know how to describe it. It's a clusterfuck. It's the only way to describe it. I'm sorry, YouTube, but it's really, it's a clusterfuck. So it is what it is. They're coming to Paris on Sunday. Honestly, what's annoying to me is that I know we're gonna get literally probably the best version of this Marseille team against us, because it is what it is. For them, it's their biggest game of the season. And everyone wants to turn up against Paris. So I've got no doubt that all of a sudden, we're gonna get the best version of this team. And then they'll go the game after this and won't show up, and we'll get beat 2-0 in Angers. I don't even know where they play next, but So this is the silliness of Marseille this season, the Marseille Comedy Club. Consider yourself brought up to speed now on all of this madness. Let me know in the comment what you think of all of this. Have you been following Marseille, and what you think of the season so far? Let me know in the comment what's your expectation going into the game on Sunday, and how you feel that game is going to go for us. And as always, if you've made it this far, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Just check, even if you think you're subscribed, just check and make sure you are. Hit the bell to get notified of future videos. And don't forget, no comedy for us, because ici c'est Paris!